Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. It's Megan, and today we're going to be talking about The Gilded Wolves by Roshani Chakshi. So this book is simply another Six of Crows, basically. That's what it is. I personally really enjoyed it, but there's a lot of conflicting reviews and controversial opinions about this. Some believe that it's too close to Six of Crows, and some are just fine with it being kind of like Six of Crows. I'm one of those people that's fine with it. I see the similarities, but I do recognize them as separate books. And a lot of people say that this is like the Goodwill or Walmart version of Six of Crows, but personally, I really thought that there was a lot of differences that made this book unique and really special. And there was some characters in here that were really special to me and I really just enjoyed. So in this book there are 4 houses. One is fallen, one has been declared dead by like the society, the hierarchy society or whatever, and then the other 2 remaining are still intact. Severin's is the house that has been declared dead because his birthright was declared dead. So basically in the first chapter, Severin steals a magical trinket of sorts from one of the houses, and once the head of the household finds out, he makes a deal with Severin that if he can go claim a more important object from somewhere else, that he can be reinstated as the head of his household and that house will be reestablished. So that is the main gist of this story, and I ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars. I really loved this book. It wasn't quite a 5 stars because it wasn't Six of Crows. It's kind of hard to not compare the two, and it is a lesser version, but I still really enjoyed the book. So I ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars because the characters to me were really special. The world building itself, there's not really a lot of world building, and the magic system is kind of hard to understand at times. And it says it's set in like 1800s Paris, and there's not a lot of atmosphere built into this book. I was really like lost on it being in the past. It felt very futuristic with some of the technology mentioned, and I wasn't sure if it was magic or technology. That's why it's like the lesser version, because there's just not a lot of things explained as well, and it does have a lot of potential, but it kind of feels like the characters kept me in it. So now I'm going to be talking spoilers. If you don't want to hear any spoilers, go ahead and click away now. But if you are interested in hearing a little bit more about it, or if you've read the book, go ahead and stay on. But for those of you that haven't read it or don't want to know the spoilers, go now. Alright. So I'm just gonna set this down because I'm already tired of holding it, but we're gonna talk spoilers now. So just to talk the world building again, I felt like there was no world building. They made a few mentions of Paris and the Eiffel Tower and some of the things there, but I just felt like it wasn't what the synopsis stated it was, like in the past, and I just felt like it was very futuristic. The forging and all of that, I had some confusions about it because they talked about it more as a science than a magic, but it felt very magical to me, so I'm not sure what it was supposed to be. But I did understand the magic or science itself. I felt that Tristan was a waterbender of sorts, so with the water forging, you can have an affinity for plant water or regular water. I'm guessing there's like a blood affinity of some sort somewhere. But there's just a lot of confusion about whether it was technology or magic. With Tristan, it felt a lot more like magic, whereas with Sophia, it felt more like technology and her inventing things. And then there's the part at the end with the mustard suit guy. I forget his name, but Mustard, that's what I'm probably going to be calling him throughout the rest of this, but Mustard Suit Guy, where he like cut his blood and turned Severin into the angel and the devil with the wings and the horns and everything, and that certainly did not feel like technology. That felt like blood magic, so I feel like there has to be some sort of magical element in this world, but she kept saying it wasn't magic, it was technology, so that was just all sorts of confusing. And then there was the talks of the House of Babel and all of the elements related to that. And to me that made sense because I grew up going to church, and so I've heard that story before from the Bible. There was definitely some stuff added to it, I think, but this is just a fictional book. So every time they were talking about it, I definitely thought of it as an actual object rather than just a presence of magic or a presence of this whatever it is. But in the end, when they were talking about all of the nonsense with finding the fragment of Babel, I was so unclear about what was going on. There was just so much confusion. So overall, this was just a very confusing book for me. I had no problem with the writing. It was very simplistic, but it wasn't simple things they were talking about. I thought I understood it coming out of it, and the more I thought about it and tried to talk about it for the review, I just realized I didn't absorb as much as I originally thought I did. But the thing that kept me in the book fully, I mean, I didn't have a problem reading it in the first place, but the thing that kept me fully hooked were the characters. Now, Severin, he could go either way. He's definitely the Walmart version of Kaz, so we'll just keep it with that. There was not a lot of history in his connections with the characters. I wasn't really sure how he met them or anything of that nature, but I loved Layla. She was so wonderful. I loved her backstory of being a stillborn and then being crafted into a human, and just like dealing with the aftermath of that and wondering about why is she not real, how can she be real, how much time does she really have left, and all of that story. And then I also really loved her take on beauty and how beauty is not everything, but it is a good weapon. And I think a lot of people, they're quick to judge that and be like, oh, all you care about is beauty. But I think she recognized it for what it was. Like, one of the parts that I really liked about Layla was when she left the rules for Zofia, and she made sure to, like, give Zofia options. Like, she said, step number 2, I laid out 3 dresses for you. The dark one will be the least distracting because there are no asymmetrical frills. The light one will be the most comfortable, and the embroidered one is for you if you feel nervous, because then you can count the stitches while you're waiting. So she made sure that Zofia had something comforting to her, and she really took into account who Zofia was as a person and gave her options through that. But then following that was step 3. On your vanity is a pot of rouge and a pot of kohl. Use them only if you wish. Cosmetics do not mean that you need them. They can be anything you desire them to be. Enhancement, armor, or etc. And like, that just shows her view on beauty. It can be anything you want it to be. It can be art, it can be armor, it can be a weapon, it can be beauty for the sake of beauty just because you want to feel pretty. And I think that's how beauty should be seen in today's society. And if people want to wear makeup, let them wear makeup. It's not because they're doing it for other people. They're doing it for them. They're doing it because they see it as art, or because it makes them feel good. And honestly, yes, that is what people should be focused on. Then we also have Layla as the baker and the ultimate mom friend. Overall, I just really love Layla, and I think that a lot of people compare her to Inej, but I think her and Inej are completely different, and the only reason they have comparisons is because of Severin and like the relationship there. But I guess I see that, but Layla is a completely different character than Inej. I mean, they have the similarities between the relationship with like the head of the crew, and then the similarities of leaving their family behind, and being, I think, Indian. I think they both were. But other than that, both have completely different personalities. So I think she deserves to be recognized as a great character. And then she also has a superpower or like magical ability or whatever you want to call it, or technology according to the book. But she has the ability to read the history of objects, and I think that's the coolest thing. I wish they would have talked more about that because I felt like there was like a few moments of it, but it wasn't really explored. So I hope that I don't know if there's going to be another book. I think there is, but I hope they explore that more in the sequel. Then we have Zofia. Layla and Zofia are my two favorite characters. Just get that out of the way. Severin, probably my least favorite. Maybe Tristan, just because we don't talk about him much. But Zofia, I love her. She's definitely on the spectrum, and I think she was written so well. And I don't know what else to say. I just think she was written so well. Her comfort in counting and finding numbers, or her lack of social cues, and her guilt when she thinks she did something wrong as far as getting Tristan in trouble or anything of that nature, and just having that guilt even though it wasn't really her fault. That's just something I've seen from someone in my personal life, and I definitely think that this was a well executed character of someone on the spectrum, and I think it was written so well. Then we have Hypnos, who is probably the funniest character I've read in a while. He is completely in love with himself and in love with life and in love with everyone, and he lets everyone know it, and he flirts with everything that moves. He's just wonderful, and I love him, and he brought such a lightheartedness to the book. I was so worried it was going to be like another book, and it didn't end up that way, and I was really happy because I really wanted Hypnos to be good, and I was so happy he was good. I got worried there for a second when it was talking about mustard suit guy. Rose Jobert, I think is what his name was. But anyways, that dude, I'm gonna stick with mustard suit guy because after reading that, I don't know how to pronounce it. So mustard suit guy and Severin and Layla and Tristan were all in the catacombs, and it talks about a part where they were looking through the door and they saw Hypnos and Enrique standing there looking smugly, and that didn't compute in my brain, and I thought that Enrique and Hypnos had turned because I didn't compute in my brain at first that it was them looking smugly at putting up the tapestry that kept people from going through the test cat door. And I was so upset because I thought Enrique and Hypnos were bad, and I was like, no. And then they were good and we were fine, but that definitely scared me. And then going off of that, Enrique, I thought his like biracial diversity was a great plot point to the story, and how he wants to join the one group but he can't because he's not full-blooded, and just the jabs at him for not being full-blooded from the director of that group and things like that. I thought it was written really well, and I'm excited to see that explored more, and I'm just excited to see all of this diversity explored more in sequels if they are coming, so that'd be nice. Then we have Tristan. I'm not really sure how I felt about him, just because we didn't get much of him. We didn't even get one of his point of view. And then his death, I just felt like he didn't get a justified death. I felt like it was too rushed and just too much happened for him to die like that. And yeah, I just didn't think his death was written well. And then the aftermath of it all was just kind of weird. So that's one thing I didn't really like about the book. Mainly the thing I liked about the book were the characters, and that's how most of my books are for me. I really like character-driven stories because I connect to characters on such a level of love. I guess I don't even know how to describe it. I just connect to characters very much, and that's what drives books for me. So to have no real personality shown in Tristan was interesting, and I wish his death had been written better. And then the ending, other than the death, the thing with the ring and him not being the actual blood heir, I saw it coming, but not in that way. I don't even know how to describe it. I knew there was something up with the test, and I knew he wasn't the true blood heir from reading through the story. I forget, there was like a certain point, I forget where it was. I need to start annotating my books so that I can give better reviews. But there was definitely a certain point that I was like, he's not the blood heir. And then they mentioned it at the end. I didn't expect it to come up the way it did, but I did expect that to happen, if that makes sense. So I'm excited for a sequel. It was definitely written with a sequel in mind, and I'm really glad I read this. So that is my thoughts on The Gilded Wolves. Let me know what your thoughts are, and I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you in my next one. Bye!